There are a few persistent misconceptions about women in science that I think we need to challenge. One of the most frustrating is the idea that if a woman achieves something, like gets a grant or a position or a promotion, she got it because she's a woman. As if the years of hard work, the late nights in the lab, and the scientific contributions somehow don't count. That mindset is both dismissive and damaging. It implies that women are being handed success rather than earning it.
Yes, I have encountered this scenario, especially coming in Switzerland from a former country which at that time had no bilateral collaboration and therefore no scientific recognition. And it took me a long time and a lot of support from my colleagues in the department or the university to bridge that gap.
And it also comes down to even sometimes conversations in the lab. And of course, you don't have to be involved in every conversation that happens in the lab. That's impossible to happen and it's not realistic. But it can be that we're all having coffee together or just in the lab talking while we work. And there's conversations about topics that are very masculine or something like this, or very focused on a topic that only a few within the group are actually passionate about or knowledgeable about to communicate on. Maybe when we have these public times, it's better to actually try to open the dialogue to other people. And by this, I mean just trying to be mindful of how your conversations may be exclusionary, even when you don't think they are. So during these public times, I think it's important to think, how can I be inclusive for everybody who's there? What should I be doing? Is there somebody who's feeling like they're left out a little bit? Maybe they just don't feel comfortable in this space. What can we do to bring them into this space? And I think that keeping our mind open to this is important for your success, because who knows who you will meet by doing this, but also for the success of everybody. Science is collaborative at the end of the day, and we need to make sure we're open to this.
Genauso wie es unterschiedliche Kulturen innerhalb der Labore gibt, gibt es unterschiedliche Kulturen an unterschiedlichen Unis. Das ist ein Fakt. Und es ist erstaunlich, dass teilweise Engineering-orientierte oder fokussierte Unis dann mehr Frauen haben wie Life Science-orientierte Unis im gleichen Land. Und das gibt es auch. Das zeigt einfach auch, dass nicht alles am großen System, am übergeordneten System festgemacht werden kann. Maßnahmen, die man jetzt trifft, haben vielleicht in 30 Jahren oder sagen wir mal in 20 Jahren, in 10 bis 20 Jahren eine Auswirkung. Es dauert lange. Wenn man jetzt Frauen einstellt, dann ist immer noch davor so ein riesen quasi Overhead an nur Männern.
Another misconception is that to be a successful woman in science, women have to sacrifice everything else: family, relationships, a balanced life. But success doesn't have to look one way. Some of the best scientists I know are also parents, caregivers, collaborators, and mentors. These aspects do not mean that somebody is less serious about science or less committed about their work. It often makes them actually more resilient and also more human and more relatable. There's also this subtle assumption that men are more naturally drawn to STEM fields and that they're more analytical or more technical or maybe more driven, but that's not what I've seen. I've worked with brilliant, detail-oriented, creative scientists of all genders. And I think a lot of women start to question whether science is actually for them, not because of a lack of interest in this space, but because the field can sometimes seem exclusionary. People thrive when they feel valued and supported and seen. And you can be talented, curious, and capable, but if you don't feel like you belong in the room, it's hard to thrive. At the end of the day, science should be about asking good questions, solving problems, and working together to understand the world. And that's something that anybody can do, regardless of gender.
Oh, that women can't work long hours. This is a complete misconception. You have not seen women who are working long hours. This is one of the misconceptions. And another misconception, this is which I came to know about this more recently, that people are biased to not hire women because they think that in a senior position when they're hiring, that women would go for a maternity leave. of course they would go for a maternity leave. Otherwise, the world would not exist. This needs to stop.
This has definitely happened to me where I've said something, suggested an experiment, or answered a question, seemed to be ignored, and then a few minutes later, a man would say the same thing in a different way, and then maybe he was listened to. I don't know why this happens. Is it because I speak in a higher register, that I smile more, or I'm smaller than my male counterparts, and this gives a perceived lack of confidence or intelligence? I'm not sure, but it's certainly upsetting to be in that environment and hear this happen to you. I do have to say this has changed definitely for the positive in the last years, and even within my own lab in the last 10 years, I've noticed the younger students don't seem to do this as much as in the past, so this is really positively changing.
You can see that, okay, the due credit is not given to my colleagues. I would like to stand up, and I feel I do stand up.
Eben in der Schweiz haben wir wirklich noch teilweise Zahlen, die sehr schlecht aussehen. Also 2 unter 15 bis 20 Professorinnen ist nicht viel, aber in meiner vorherigen Arbeitsstelle war das überhaupt gar kein Thema. Da waren diverse Frauen auf höchster Ebene, Leiterinnen im Institut oder Vollprofessorinnen. Es war einfach kein Thema, und da wollen wir halt hin, oder? Wir wollen ganz klar dahin, wo man Frau oder ja kein Thema mehr ist.